Welcome to Talk Flicks with Boss Chicks. I'm your host, Crystal, and today we're going to be talking about that Netflix release, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
A one, a two, a you know what to do.
This be an empty world without the blues. I try to take that emptiness and fill it up with something. But they want to call me Mother Blues. That's all right with me. It don't hurt none.
This is a film that is directed by George Wolfe, starring Viola Davis, Chadwick Boseman, and Coleman Domingo, and several other Black actors that we've known from films that we've seen, from TV shows that we've come to love. And this film was a lot of hype behind this film. I really came into this film just completely just ignorant. I wanted to just have a complete blank slate because this was Chadwick Boseman's last film. I didn't want to do a bunch of research on it. I follow Viola Davis on her Instagram, and so I was seeing the pictures, and so I went in thinking this was just a straight biopic period piece, and I was all about that because I love movies like that. And so I knew a little bit about Ma Rainey, not that much. But as soon as I started watching this film, I was like, this is a play. The staging, the acting, the blocking, everything just felt very, very play-esque, like a theatrical play. And so that initially kind of took me out of the story a little bit because I'm like, okay, this isn't going to be like a whole film that covers this woman's life and her journey as a musician in, times of racial tension and struggle in America. And so I was a little bit disappointed in that regard. But, I kept watching it. Films like this, I don't really even call them movies per se because they're basically like a play. This film, this kind of like what Tyler Perry plays do. Like it's a play. It is a play, and they just film it to give it a little bit more dramatization. And so it's really in a completely different category in my opinion because it's done a totally different way. The effect that that the filmmakers are trying to get from the audience is different because it's a play. And so after I kind of got over that, I settled back in. And I really settled back in once I saw Chadwick Boseman's character because, as someone who is a fan of his work, his death obviously hit most of us like really, really hard. And so just to see him in something we haven't seen him in, just to me really helped me cope with his death. And it almost was like I could feel my brain like questioning, why was I sad? Like, this guy is right here. Why are you feeling like, he's not here anymore? You're seeing him. And so it was almost like that cognitive dissonance type of feel where it's like, I know he's dead, but I'm seeing him and I'm seeing him in a way that I hadn't seen before, as if he's here. And so that actually was kind of therapeutic for me, and I appreciated that they kind of held on to it for a while and released it during this time, getting close to the Christmas season. It's a very nice gift. But I had some problems with this character Levy that he played. So Viola Davis plays Ma Rainey, who is supposed to be the main event. She is the mother of blues, as she is often referred to, and this is her band, and she's going to record a couple of her best tracks at this recording studio ran by these white men. We'll just call them her producers and her manager. And so when we get into this film, we see her performing, and we're all into it. And then it's like, okay, we go into the recording studio. Hey, we're gonna record with Rainey and her band. The band shows up, and we see Levy, who is Chadwick Boseman's character. He is the trumpet player. And in that first scene when they're performing, he kind of is one of those people that wants that limelight. They're not someone who can stay as a background singer or part of the landscape for the main artist or the star. And so inevitably this happens with pretty much every band. They get to this point where people kind of want to always do their own solo albums. It just happens, like it just is. So he's already wanting to do his own thing. He kind of tries to steal some of her shine, and so she already kind of has a little bit of resentment towards him. And so when they are scheduled to be in the studio, Rainey is late, and she's very demanding, and in a lot of ways it was kind of like she was just being an asshole just because she could. And it was for good reasons, I guess, because again, as a Black person in the 1920s, like, you usually don't have the type of power or authority to tell people to do anything, really. And so this power that came with her stardom, this authority, she used it to the max because she knew that these people really didn't care about her. All they cared about was her talent. And she has a really good monologue about that. And, Viola Davis, she always kills it with stuff like that. So the band is there, and we're getting to know the band all through dialogue because, again, this is a play. So, this backstory, which they had a lot of rich backstory for Levy's character. And one of the things that comes out, he's a very emotional, kind of hot-headed, very impulsive type of person. And one of the things that he shares is that his mom was raped by a gang of white men. And his dad was not completely successful in avenging that rape. And so he is upset because, during all this happening, he was actually there, present, when this was happening. He ended up getting stabbed by one of the men because he was trying to defend his mom. And he said he remembered his mom crying out to the Lord, to help her. And he felt like the Lord didn't help them. And so he harbored this resentment and anger towards God. And it all came out on screen very, very excessively, to the point where this character, played by Chadwick Boseman, literally blasphemes God and, tells God to strike him down. And that whole scene, which seemed to go on for a super long time, by the way, like, it wasn't just, this casual thing where he, blames God. Like, he goes in on the Lord. It was just kind of like extreme. And as I'm watching it, like, literally my soul is feeling grieved because it's like Chadwick literally is dead right now, and this character that he was playing before he died was telling the Lord to strike him dead. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I couldn't really focus after that. Like, all I could think was, this film killed Chadwick Boseman. Like, this film literally took him to his grave, because the power of life and death is in the tongue. Like, the Bible says this. Like, you manifest what you speak. Like, this stuff was out of control. And again, this was not a casual little, blaming God. Like, he went on for a long time. And I just was like, I'm pretty sure Chadwick Boseman was a Christian. So I was just kind of wondering how he did this role. Like, this stuff is it really takes me back to the first Christian film festival that I went to in 2012. And the Kendrick brothers were there, and Kirk Cameron was there. And this was not too long after Fireproof had came out, and I think Courageous had just came out. And they were talking about, he was talking about roles that he doesn't take, which I thought was interesting, because, most people were talking about you know, the roles that they've done and the stuff that they want to do. But he specifically made a point to talk about the films that he does not do and he refuses to do. Roles he refuses, actions that he refuses to do, you know, in a movie. And I thought this was interesting because he used the word dangerous. And he said, you know, even in Fireproof, he did not want to kiss the lady who was playing his wife because that wasn't his wife. And so they orchestrated it to where, you know, he kissed his actual wife. They you know, did some movie magic to rig it to where it looked as if he kissed the woman in the film, but it was actually his real wife. And he talked about how he did not want to kiss someone who was not his wife because he felt like that would take him into, you know, a fleshly direction that could, you know, harm his actual marriage. And so I had never thought about stuff like that ever at that point. So I was just like, wow, this is crazy. But this is great because you have to name your price and you have to stick to that price, and not let anyone push you over that edge. You gotta maintain the integrity, whatever it is that you know you don't feel right on the inside doing, that you don't do those things. And fast forward to 2020, watching this film, that was the only thing that was in my mind was like, whoa, like, how do you do that? Because, you know, the Bible talks about how, you know, from the heart, the mouth speaketh. Like, even though this is not you, you're playing a role, these are still your lips saying it. And so you just can't test the Lord, y'all. Like, this is so for real and serious. Like, wow. I just wonder, you know, in between takes, if it was something where he was asking for forgiveness. I don't know. I was just like blown away. And so that really detracted from the movie to me. Like, honestly, like, I felt like if I was editing this movie after Chadwick was dead, I would not have wanted to really linger on these things where he's asking the Lord to strike him dead. Like, it was too much. It was too much. And I was not adverse to him playing a bad guy, but this particular thing was out of bounds to the max. And so I'm upset at this movie for doing that. It did. It really grieved my spirit to no end. Like, after the credits rolled, I was just kind of still sitting there like, what did these people do? In regards to the rest of the film, I thought it was, again, well acted, well executed, visually. I think the story was good. Obviously it's a play, so, you know, if it had have been a more traditional film, I think, you know, adding these extra scenes for the backstory, I think giving us more Ma Rainey, like, well, that's one of the things that I really was just kind of disappointed in. Like, honestly, this film really was Levy's black bottom, because he literally showed his ass acting up in this film. And the story spent more time with his character. Like, we only got a very shallow glimpse of who Ma Rainey was. And I mean, this really kind of felt like a COVID film because, you know, it only had like one location, really, the whole film. Like, it was in the studio and then outside the studio. The ending was very tragic, but it was very, very realistic and telling to the times. And so one of the things, again, it was tragic. Like, Levy, his whole character, his whole life was just one big tragedy, which was just, it really just broke my heart. Particularly because Chadwick Boseman was playing this person who had just had the worst life ever. And so he, you know, being someone who's kind of like, he's a star in his own right. And so, you know, a star that's bursting to shine, but they're being blocked by, you know, someone else's shine, which was Ma Rainey. He wanted to do his own thing. And so, you know, he was thinking that he was going to get with the producer who was recording them at the studio and do his own songs. He was writing his stuff. And the producer, the white man, was like, oh yeah, we record it. And then when it came time when because Levy was thinking, I'm gonna do my own thing, so I'll just leave this band. I'm gonna get fired. I'm gonna do my own thing. So him and Ma have this whole little falling out, and he's like, I don't care. I'm gonna start my own thing. And so he goes to this producer like, hey, when can we go ahead and start recording? And he's like, you promised me this. And the guy's like, yeah, I'll pay you $5 for it, which $5 I guess was maybe 500 in our day. I don't know. But he saw his dream basically slipping away because he needed this white man who, he had this whole little monologue about, how he deals with white men, and how he doesn't like to just be thrown the bones or the scraps. He wants to go and take his and, be the person who is in charge of his own destiny. He basically gets his face cracked and he goes crazy and like kills somebody. And then the film ends with that white producer taking his song and recording it with a white band. And it sounds terrible, by the way. But they're like, yes, this is it. This is the one. And it's just like, it ends. And so it's very telling because that happens to a lot of people, not even just back then, but even, now people get taken advantage of, the stuff gets stolen. And it just was really sad to see that happen to Chadwick Boseman because, again, he's our guy, he's our hero. Even when he's not playing our hero, he still is. Again, well done, don't get me wrong. But, that blaspheming God monologue it really just killed this film for me, particularly. I just couldn't get over it. Even with all the other stuff that was good, like I said, the acting was good. I thought the story was engaging, even though it was very shallow, and I felt like this was really more about Levy than Ma Rainey. So it was almost like misleading as far as what this story was about. It wasn't about Ma Rainey at all, really. Like, she was just there to be an asshole to these white men. This film, I gave it a higher score on my podcast, but this, now that I'm thinking about it more and more, this movie gets like a 5 out of 10. A 5 out of 10. Because the story didn't go deep enough. And maybe it couldn't because it was like, a play. But I wanted to see more of who Ma was. We got a little glimpse of her. Okay, she's bisexual or maybe a lesbian. She's kind of masculine. Okay, she's an asshole. She doesn't really care for her manager. She's very bossy. She, we just got these little pieces in fragments, and we didn't know really why she was like that. Where on the other hand, we knew who Levy was, why he was the way he was, and it was just a richer development of characters. So it really just, I don't even know if it should even been called, or Ma Rainey's name should have been in the title. Hardly at all, because it was hardly about her at all. But definitely check out the movie. Always support. Again, this movie was helpful in, seeing Chadwick again, and just kind of keeping him alive, in my spirit, even though this movie had him doing things that was completely out of bounds. But, watch it, check it out. Let me know what you guys think. And make sure you check out our other episodes. And subscribe to our channel and like our channel. All right, y'all. So Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, you filthy animals. And I'll see you next time. Peace.